Welcome to Whores Talk Horror.
We're not really whores. We just like wordplay.
Welcome to Whores Talk Horror. I'm Sharon.
And I'm Melinda.
And we are back. I was just out of town in Paris.
Woo!
And saw the catacombs, and we're going to talk about that in an upcoming episode. But now we're just going to kind of do a horror movie roundup because we haven't actually recorded in a few weeks, and Mindy and I have both watched a bunch of horror movies the last part of the month, and we're just gonna discuss some of those films. And Mindy, how was your Halloween?
It was okay. It was kind of chill. Normally I do something special for Halloween, and I really didn't, but we had a big storm in Chicago day before Halloween, so I basically came home from work and cuddled up with my cat, and the wind was howling really crazy outside my building, and so just like watched horror movies all night long, and it was the perfect horror movie setting. So in that respect, it was really lovely. Anyway, but aside from flying home on a plane, how was your Halloween?
It wasn't too bad. They had a pretty decent number of horror movie, like scary Halloween themed movies on the plane. So I did watch The Conjuring, and I watched half of The Conjuring 2, and then I decided to put on a JonBenet Ramsey
Oh, nice.
documentary, and then I just watched like 4 episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia to like help keep me awake. And yeah, that was about it. And then I went home, and it was, cold and snowy and gross out. So we just like lit a bunch of candles and, made it all cozy and made some popcorn, drank some beers, watched some horror movies. And then I passed the fuck out because I was exhausted. So, all right. What movie should we talk about first? Mindy, do you have one?
I really want to talk about Mom and Dad because I saw this movie. I've seen it like 3 times, and I kept saying to Sharon, watch this. And then she didn't tell me she watched it and just posted about it on our Instagram, and I freaked out. So I want to talk about that one.
I fucking loved it. Yeah, I don't know why I put off watching it because I know you highly recommended it. And even though Nick Cage is kind of crazy now, I still love him, at least as an actor. His personal life aside, he is a really good actor, and this is one of those roles that you just want to see him perform in because it's so fucking batshit crazy.
It's crazy Cage at his best, for sure. And Selma Blair is like a gift. I love her so much, and she's so good in that movie.
She really is. And I'm not like the biggest fan of hers. I mean, she's fine, but like the combination of them together, I just thought that they were like the perfect people to play these parents. And for those of you who haven't seen it, this is definitely a dark comedy about parents who decide they just want to like hurt and kill their kids. But
it's like a sudden thing, almost like not a disease, I want to say, but like it's just like one day people wake up and this starts happening. If you don't think that kind of thing is funny, maybe don't watch it. But I don't know. It's done in a way. Sharon mentioned dark humor, and it is very dark humor, but I just thought it was hilarious and awesome and fun.
Yeah.
Which sounds weird saying that about a movie about parents killing their children, but.
Well, I mean, neither of us are parents, but I'm sure every parent at one point in their life has thought about hurting or killing their child. Most people don't act on it, but everyone has those thoughts. Just, there's times where I've thought about hurting or killing Spencer. I would never do it. But, sometimes people test your limits and you have fantasies. So, my favorite part of the movie was when the grandparents showed up for dinner.
Yes.
And it was like grandparents against their kids, and they wouldn't go after their grandchildren,
right? But
they went after their own children. Meanwhile, their children are trying to kill their children, and it was just this super chaotic, funny scene. And
Lance Henriksen,
yes,
isn't that him? Who's
Alien.
The father?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I loved it when I saw him walk through the door. I kind of squealed.
So I'm glad I finally decided to watch this.
Me too.
We recommend it.
Absolutely.
All right, so the next movie is Tragedy Girls, which I saw Mindy has not watched this one, but I do recommend that you watch it.
I put it on the list.
Put it on the list.
Hashtag
put it on the list.
Put it on the list.
I'm not going to get too much into details on this, but it's a slasher film. It's about two teen girls who are obsessed with death, and they are also serial killers, and they host an online show talking about death, especially the recent deaths in their hometown, and it kind of combines a slasher flick with this new concept that we have of people just becoming celebrities now because of social media, podcasts, like a social media influencer, whatever you want to call it. But it takes the old slasher flick formula and combines it with new technology and what the fuck am I trying to say?
That's exactly what you're trying to say, I think. Like, it uses an old conceit and mixes it in with everyday new concepts and technology, and
yes,
there you go.
And according to IMDb, Scream, the movie Scream, was actually a major influence for this film. And it's pretty obvious while watching it that there are a lot of similarities between the two movies. But yeah, I didn't really know what to think about this movie. It had some decent ratings and decided to check it out. And I liked it and I recommend it.
Awesome. I do have it. I do want to watch it, but I saw that you had already added it to our 31 movies. And so it's been a busy October. And so I was like, I'll just add it to my list and watch it later. So I'll get to it. Good story, Melinda.
And what movie are you going to talk about next?
I have a few honorable mentions that didn't get posted on Instagram for our 31 movies. But this is kind of an embarrassing admission because I know a lot of people have seen this already. But I finally saw Terrifier. But also I watched All Hallows Eve, which we just looked up before this because I was like, wait, that's the same clown from Terrifier. But I guess All Hallows Eve was supposed to be like a prequel to Terrifier. And then Terrifier is the one with the creepy clown that says nothing and terrifies people. All Hallows Eve is really cool concept-wise because basically this woman is babysitting these two kids on Halloween, and which that in itself, hello. And then the younger boy is emptying out his candy bag, and somebody threw a VHS tape in it. And so the kids, of course, are like, let's watch it. And she's like, the babysitter's like, I don't know. And so, of course, they put the tape in, and it's the clown is featured, and then it's these random, horror. It's basically shorts, but it's these random horrible deaths that are recorded. And it was actually kind of, some of it was really gory, gross, over the top, but I thought it was kind of an interesting concept. And then I won't go into more detail because I don't want to give any spoilers away, but Terrifier is the one that I think more people are familiar with. And then that somehow got released later, I think, than All Hallows Eve, and it involves the same clown. And it is spooky because he doesn't talk at all, but he does all sorts of weird shit and kills people.
Yeah, I saw Terrifier, and I liked it. I definitely had issues with it.
Yeah.
But overall, I liked it. I did not see All Hallows Eve. Which one would you recommend?
I kind of enjoyed All Hallows Eve a little bit better just because the clown was more mysterious. By the time I got to Terrifier, I kind of knew what his deal was. And if you look at him, he looks like a Terrifier. So,
yeah.
I have never seen a movie like that. It's sort of VHS-like, but, the fact that this kid is, emptying out his candy bag and is like, what's this? A cassette tape? What? And I kind of want to do that for Halloween next year. Just, put some random clips together on a DVD or something.
Hand out snuff films to children.
Yeah. I don't why. What's scarier, right? Happy Halloween, kids.
That's a good
Go
concept
get terrified
for a new movie. Spencer and I were at, I think, Days of the Dead Fest last year or the year before, and we saw a little girl who is about 3 or 4 years old who was obsessed, I guess, with the Terrifier movie. Her parents actually let her watch this with them, which, I started watching horror movies when I was young, but I don't know if I would let a 3 or 4 year old watch Terrifier because there's some pretty gruesome death scenes in there.
Yeah.
But she saw someone dressed as, because people get in cosplay, and she saw someone dressed as the clown from Terrifier, and she was like, oh, like her eyes lit up like it was Santa Claus, and she wanted a picture with this clown. And I just thought it was really funny that this little girl was like so into that. Like, most kids are into Dora or whatever. I don't know what kids are into now. But
that still though, I agree. I don't know that young that I'd let a kid watch either of those movies, but to each his own.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
She'll grow up to host her own horror movie podcast maybe one day.
Yay, goals. So that's one of my honorable mentions. Sharon, what do you have to talk about?
We can discuss this one together. We both watched Happy Death Day to You,
Yay.
which is the sequel to Happy Death Day, which I think we both really enjoyed the first one.
Yep.
Second one, it looked fun. I didn't really have expectations for it to be a great sequel, but I actually really enjoyed it, even though it was more, I think to me it felt less like a horror movie and almost a little more sci-fi.
Yeah. They definitely went in that direction. I mention the movie Primer all the time on this. What's up, Shane Carruth? Who's probably not listening to this podcast. But I wrote down while watching that movie that I randomly I wrote down this is like Primer meets a dash of Starship Troopers, because it was like a bit of not cheesy slapstick comedy, but it was there was a sense of it not taking itself seriously, but also sort of tiptoeing into the time travel, time warp, sci-fi area, but being vague enough that you didn't need to know the details, but you still got the idea of what they were talking about, if that makes any sense. Deliciously vague is the phrase a friend of mine used. And I don't know how I feel about that, but it was still fun.
It was definitely fun, and I feel like we use fun a lot to describe our movies. We watch a lot of fun horror movies. But no, it was a fun watch, even though it wasn't scary at all. Some of the death scenes were pretty unique and comical, and apparently, they definitely left the end of this open to make a third film, and I guess Christopher Landon, who is the writer and director of this movie, already announced plans for a third film as soon as they wrap production on this one. So I guess we will be looking, this will be a trilogy.
I heard that was sort of his hope from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. It'll be interesting to see where they go. It's been a while since I've seen the first movie, and I liked that from the beginning of the movie right away, since it is a repeating time type movie, they kind of had these nice little quick reminders of oh, right, that guy. I remember what his deal is. I didn't feel like I needed to see the first one again before I viewed the second movie.
And they do a really nice little wrap up in the beginning of this movie. So
good. Yeah.
So that definitely helped out, because it's been a while since I've seen the first one. And this one definitely goes, it explains the whole situation in a lot more detail of why people are waking up the same, to the same day over and over and over again. So this one does go into more of an explanation with, the whole time, space, alternate universes, and makes it more of a sci-fi than more of a horror slasher type film, which the first one was.
Right. But the exposition in terms of if you're coming in cold or it's been a while and since you've seen the first one, her quick recap was expertly written and expertly delivered. I thought it was really fast, really clear. And I was great. Now I don't have to rewatch the first one before seeing this, because I totally remember what happened in the first movie now. So
yeah. Absolutely. So I think we both recommend this one. I should also apologize. I'm still a little jet lagged. So my brain is just not functioning quite right, even though I just finished a triple shot latte.
I'm just hungover from Halloween. And I didn't get that drunk on Halloween, but
it was an exhausting month.
I don't want it to be over Halloween.
It doesn't have to be over.
It lives on in our hearts.
It does.
Every year.
We're going to keep it going. All right. So the next movie is another Dario Argento film because I love him. And it's Tenebrae, which in Latin or Italian means darkness or shadows.
This isn't the one with Jennifer Connelly, is it?
No, that is Phenomena. Don't. I will fucking murder you if you get that song stuck in my head. All right. Have you seen that one?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you should watch that one. That one's really, really good. Although I'm not even going to get into it, but there's the ending and involves a monkey, and that's all I'm going to say.
All right.
And it's really fucking bizarre.
Okay.
All right. So, no, this one, actually, the only person in it that I actually knew who the actor was, there's one guy who plays the main cop from Black Christmas, which I cannot think of his name right now.
He's in everything.
He's in everything. He's one of those character actors who's in everything, and Spencer's going to look his name up. So this movie is about an American writer who goes to Rome and is continually harassed and stalked by a serial killer who is killing everyone who is associated with his latest book. And according to IMDb, the movie was actually inspired after Argento was stalked by a fan. Spencer, what is the name of the actor?
John Saxon.
John Saxon.
Of course. I should have known that.
Yes. So yeah, John Saxon is in this movie. Other than that, I don't know who any of the other actors are. I really enjoy all of Argento's movies, and maybe it's just because of Suspiria that I tend to like all of his movies because that one is just so good that I'm like, he can't make a bad movie. To me, though, it's more of a kind of a mystery whodunit than a horror film. It's kind of reminiscent of Sherlock Holmes or even Hitchcock. What did I say?
Hitchcock.
You
know, the famous director Hitchcock.
The famous director Alfred Hitchcock. Oh my God. I apparently need to get caught up on my
I've seen
sleep.
all of his movies. I don't know what you're talking about.
Alfred Hitchcock?
Yep.
He's the best. He made that movie Vitiligo. All right.
Back on track.
So, as I was saying, this is more reminiscent of a Sherlock Holmes or even a Hitchcock film. All the death scenes showcase Argento's signature style of beautiful composition, beautifully shot deaths, but also very gruesome with, that thick red blood that looks like paint that he uses in all of his movies. And I noticed that after watching, I think I've seen 4 or 5 of his movies now, he's kind of got a thing with using glass or windows to kill people. A lot of people in his movies die from being impaled with glass, which does make for a very beautifully shot scene. He does that very well. I don't know what his obsession with that is, but yeah, I like this movie a lot and I would recommend it. And there's a little bit of a twist in it, which I think a lot of his movies kind of have a little, a small twist. It's nothing groundbreaking, but
right. Not everything is as it appears kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is another honorable mention movie, and I actually did tell Sharon to watch this, and it's on Shudder for those of you who are interested, and I kind of want to watch it with you, but it's also kind of long. And I'm going to take a stab at this title, because I don't know exactly how it's pronounced, but I believe it's Belzebuth. It's spelled Belzebuth, and it's on Shudder. I'm going to read the description, and then I'm going to read one comment that I have about it, and then I think it's best left at just that, because this is one of those movies that somebody said, we should watch this. And I'll be honest, I was a little intoxicated when I started watching it, so I might have fallen asleep during part of it, but it goes off the chains. It's rad. So the plot to this movie, according to IMDb, is: after losing his family in an extremely tragic way, Detective Ritter must investigate a massacre at a school perpetrated by a student. What seemed like a pretty clear case becomes much more dense when a priest of the Vatican appears with another point of view. So that's the IMDb synopsis. And I'm just going to say, Jesus comes to terrifying life on the cross, literally. And that's all I'm going to leave you with. I did enjoy, this was like a literally batshit insane movie, but even though I fell asleep during part of it, I was like, I can't believe we just watched this, and Sharon needs to see it. So, but there were times where I was like screaming at my TV, like, what the fuck is going on? So, like, it's on Shudder. Check it out.
Put it on the list. Put it on the list.
Hard to describe, but I recommend it. If you like batshit crazy movies that are creepy and scary, you'll enjoy this one.
I do like that. Yeah, I've actually seen a lot of people posting about this movie. So, all right, I'm definitely going to put that on my list and check it out. And I know you do not like torture movies, Mindy, but I actually really recommend you watching I Spit on Your Grave, the 2010 version. Did you ever see the original?
I didn't, but I did add the 2010 version to my like queue on Shudder. So
okay. Quick synopsis. Female writer. She goes to a secluded but beautiful cabin in the woods, which, you know, nothing good ever happens at cabins in the woods.
Nope.
She plans on staying there for a few months to write, but then gets brutally assaulted over many, many, many hours by a group of men. It's basically my worst nightmare, what happens to her.
Ugh.
And I think most people's worst nightmare, which is why I sit around the house thinking of escape plans and what I would do if an intruder came into my house. And we still want you to send us your escape plans, people.
Yep.
So get to it. Start writing. Yeah, she's basically left for dead. Well, she actually just kind of like disappears. So you don't really know what happens to her. But as we all know, this is a revenge movie.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't seen this, I'm sure most people know the plot of this film.
And the original came out, what, early 80s
oh
or
God,
something?
no,
or
that
sooner?
was in the 70s.
So I think the statute of limitations for spoilers on this is kind of past.
Yeah, I like this one a lot better than the original, but I do like the original. What happens to the woman in the first one, I think, was a little more gratuitous.
Really?
Or I'm sorry, not the first, the original.
Yeah.
I Spit in Your Grave, I think, was a little more gratuitous. You know, it's a 70s film. It was just, it really gritty, kind of raw, dirty. And in this one, I don't think what they showed happening to the woman in this one is violent or as hard to watch as in the original.
Oh.
It was still horrible. Don't get me wrong, but the revenge scenes in this one are what make this one so good. There are so many creative ways that she chooses to
take those bastards out.
Yeah, they're just so like brutally imaginative that they kind of made me smile, even though they also kind of made me sick to my stomach, if that makes any sense. But just seeing these men get what they totally deserved was great. And the acting was really solid because it was basically a bunch of no-name actors. I think they all did a really, really good job. And I like it. Even if you're not a fan of torture films, I would recommend this one. If only for the fact that some of the things that she does to try and get out of her situation might save your life one day or help you if you are ever unfortunate enough to find yourself trapped in a situation like that, which I hope no one out there ever does.
Right.
But yeah, sometimes watching things like this helps prepare you for real life horror.
As Sidney Prescott once said, instead of running up the stairs, you know to run out the front door. So,
right.
Life lessons, people. Courtesy of horror slasher movies with tons of rape.
All right. So what do you have next on your list?
Well, so I wanted to talk about a quote unquote real life documentary called Demon House. Now, some of you, I'm guessing maybe a lot of you, are familiar with the show Ghost Adventures, which is on the Travel Channel mostly. And it's a team of ghost hunters. They go to different locations and try to find evidence of the paranormal. But the leader of the group is Zach Bagans, I believe is how he says his name, but we all call him Frodo. me as in my coworker and I who know who he is at work, because I'm so apologies in advance to any Zach fans out there, but like these guys are like bros that like go to haunted houses and like yell at ghosts and freak out over every little thing. And so, but the only reason I ever watch their show, if I happen upon it, is that I think they're so ridiculous. And they think, Zach especially, I find to be he thinks so much of himself.
Pretentious.
Thank you. Yes. And he's not a very great actor. Like a friend of mine who I won't name because he didn't give me permission to do so, but said, "Are we sure he's not brain damaged?" But I was like, no, that's just the voiceover of a bad actor who's white and feels entitled and thinks he's the shit. And he's actually not at all. So anyway, the point is this dude that I've described so wonderfully basically reads about, and I've seen this like twice and I don't remember. It's either in Indiana or Ohio, this story about this house that really happened. Who knows what actually happened, but there was a family living there who claimed that they were all possessed by something evil in the house. A child protective services worker came to the house because there were children involved and like checked in on them and then went with them because they had to take one of the kids to the ER and claims to have watched the kid walk up the side of a wall, like all this stuff. The family moved out of the house. And of course, Zach found out about it and the house was on the market and he bought it sight unseen. And then
To like live in?
well, not to live in, but this is how this maybe it will give you a better idea of it, as to who this guy is. This family moved away from the house, wanted nothing more to do with it. And he, I don't want to say harasses them, but like goes after them quite a bit, like trying to interview them to get more info. But like, I kind of feel like if people say, you know what, I'm uncomfortable with this, you back off. He does not back off at all.
And this is all in the documentary?
Yes.
Or is this backstory?
No, this is all in the documentary. And so he does get some backstory from various members of the family and then ends up, you know, because he wants to catch evidence of what's in the house, dude. Bro. He literally goes in there and barricades himself inside the house for 24 hours. And even the cops are like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. And I mean, logistically, in the case of a fire, like he gets in there at the end and makes like there's like a cop helping him. And they like hammer and nails over boards over the front door, the windows. Like his point is that he's trapped in this house for 24 hours and he's filming. There is a scene where supposedly he, quote, captures whatever's in the house on camera. We see him reacting very dramatically and yelling at whatever it is there. The camera footage, the camera goes blurry for a bit and then focuses back. That's about it. But for entertainment value, and it like in terms of like watching a B movie almost, if you feel like laughing and making fun of dumb bros, which I take pleasure in doing quite frequently with a lot of these shows, Demon House is on, I think it's on Amazon Prime. It's kind of in a lot of places, especially right now because Halloween just ended. But it's a fun watch. So I would just say go in without expectations, but check it out and have a good laugh.
All right.
Bro.
So if you feel like making fun of bros, watch this documentary. Does he start out the documentary saying, "I'm going on an adventure"? That was a Lord of the Rings reference to all you.
Sharon, your turn.
All right. So the next movie Mindy has not seen yet, but it is called The Void, and it is more of a sci-fi horror movie. And this was recommended by someone on Instagram. Thank you for the recommendation, Sean. And it has actor Kenneth Welsh, who played Wyndham Earle on Twin Peaks. And it's kind of funny because there's actually a lot of similarities between his character in this movie to his character in Twin Peaks, which you could just watch it and figure it out. It's pretty obvious. It is a movie that involves a creepy, old, almost abandoned hospital in the middle of nowhere, a deadly cult, some Giger-esque alien-looking creatures, and also there's a good amount of gore. and the movie starts out in one direction and it kind of takes you somewhere completely different. So I like the beginning of this movie better than the ending of the movie, but all in all, for a small independent crowd-funded movie,
No way.
I think it's really good. The acting is really good. Besides Kenneth Welsh, I'm not sure any of the other actors are like really well known, but I thought they all did a really good job with their performances. And also the one thing which I found on IMDb that I didn't realize is that almost everything in the film is all practical effects. There's very, very little CGI. So all the monsters that you see in this movie, all the gore, it's all practical effects, and it's very well done, I might add, considering that this is more of a smaller film. But yeah, I totally recommend it. It's different.
Cool. I wasn't aware that was like a crowdfunded thing. That's pretty cool. Now I really want to see it.
That's what I read, so I'm assuming. I could be wrong, but yeah, I read that it was like a small budget crowdfunded film, and
That's really awesome.
I liked it.
Sweet.
The last movie that I want to talk about is Man Bites Dog, which is a French film about a film crew that follows around a heartless killer and thief as he goes about his daily routines, which involve basically killing and robbing people and doing horrible things.
And going for groceries every now and then.
Yeah, you know, he goes home and visits his mom and his family and goes out to dinner, and he talks about food and music and whatever. He's very cultured. But soon the film crew starts to lose their objectivity with the main protagonist that they're filming in their documentary and start to partake in some of the brutal and horrific crimes that he commits.
Ooh.
So it's kind of interesting. It's actually pretty humorous. I mean, it's definitely a black comedy. So it's really not as gruesome as I thought it would be. There were a lot more humorous moments than I thought. I was thinking it was going to be more like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. And if you have not seen that movie, it's from the 80s. From what I've been told, it's based on the real life serial killers, Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole. So yeah, Man Bites Dog, definitely different from that. It's black and white. It's a black comedy. There is some violence. Wouldn't really classify it as a horror movie. But yeah, check it out. I liked it.
Cool. All right. So thank you once again, everybody. We hope you had a good Halloween. Thanks for listening. You can contact us on social media, on email, whorestalkhorror@gmail.com. Send us your horror movie recommendations, your Halloween stories, your
escape plans. We want escape plans,
yes,
people.
if you escape plans like in your home or at work. What happens if you find a serial killer in your closet? What would you do? How would you escape? I don't know. Or something.
How do you protect yourself when you're walking down the street at night? Do you put
Yeah.
keys between the fingers to like jab someone in the eyeballs if they come up behind you really quickly?
I've actually heard that that's not the best method of defense.
Really?
Yeah, it tends to backfire. But if I'm wrong and you have a better solution, please write it to us and tell us. That'd be awesome. And I think that's about it, really, right?
Thank you for listening. And as always, thanks for getting creepy with us.